Is your daughter noticing boys and ready to start the D word, dating? We'll talk about why this is a completely normal part of her development and what you need to know to support her. Yeah, and I did say the word support. Well, tune in as we discuss how to navigate her interest in boys and build a stronger relationship with your teen. I love reviews because it gives me an idea of how raising her confidently is supporting moms like you who are raising teenage daughters. Here's one from Struggling Single Mom. As a single mom and the only true disciplinary in my daughter's life, I have been totally baffled recently. Since listening to this podcast, I feel like some of the pieces are coming together. Thank you so much for taking the time to dive into this topic. I absolutely love this feedback because it allows me to understand what exactly you mamas need from this podcast so that we can best support each other and grab the tips and the tools that are in this podcast for you to apply to your relationship with your daughter. The goal here is to create open communication so that she can come back to you, and ultimately you guys have this special bond and healthy relationship that surpasses the teen years and thrives throughout the teen years so that you become friends with her as adults. So mama, is this you? Are you looking for a community? Are you a single mom struggling? Or maybe you're just a mom struggling in general and need support. Well, we have a free mom community just for you. One of the common things I ask moms I work with is valuable for them is to be a part of another community of moms who get it, who are in the weeds, who are raising their daughters in this season and really just to know that they're not alone. It's a time for them to vent, laugh, encourage, and support one another. And if that's you, I invite you to come and join our free mom community. You can do that by going to raisingherconfidently.com and come and join us. You can even be a fly on the wall. Just know that you're with a bunch of encouraging women that are in the same season. That's raisingherconfidently.com. If you are frustrated with how to get your teenage daughter to open up to you because all you want is to connect with her as you once did, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Jeannie Baldomero, a former rebellious teen, now mom of 3 young adults, educator, and the mom mentor, equipping you to create open communication with your girl so she can come to you about anything, even if she's scared. So grab your oat milk latte, breathe, and let's do this together. Ooh. Today, we are talking about dating. Yes, dating. We're talking about that moment when your sweet little girl starts to notice boys, when she's getting ready to have a boyfriend, or at least has this desire to have a boyfriend. And if your heart just sped up a little, take a deep breath, mama. We're going to talk through this together. I actually shared this, and I've shared this several times. My first boyfriend was when I was 13, and I could tell you I was boy crazy, B-O-Y, capital B-O-Y, crazy. Boys mattered to me right when I hit 13. I noticed them very quickly, and I went against my parents' wishes and had a boyfriend at 13. And if I could rewind that time and give my mom some advice, it would be what I'm sharing with you now. Well, first, I just want to normalize this. And I know you're probably thinking, normalize what? Being boy crazy? No, I don't want to normalize the boy crazy part because I think that we can talk our daughters through that craziness, the attractiveness, and not make it so taboo, but more of focusing on what makes her so boy crazy and not allowing that to overcome her, not allowing her boy craziness to dictate who she is, to dictate her identity, right? But I do want to say the attraction and the noticing and the desire for a newer, more intimate relationship with someone is normal in this stage. It's normal because it's natural and it's expected part of her development. Her body is changing, her brain is changing, and yes, her emotional world is expanding to include a desire for romantic relationships. Now, if you have a 9-year-old or 10-year-old, you're thinking, I can't fathom that right now. There's no way. But when you think about it, I'm sure she has some type of celebrity crush that she's thinking like, oh wow, this person's cute. That is the beginning stages of being attracted and noticing the opposite sex. And it's normal. I just want to say it's normal, mama. But does it mean we act on this normalcy? Not necessarily. It really does depend on age. As we go through some of these tips, I'll share my own experiences with boys myself and how we've parented through dating for both our boys and our daughter as they were going through the teen years, right? Now, this isn't just about crushes. It's really about biological and emotional readiness, right? To explore intimacy and connections with others. As she grows into an older teenager, this sense and urge of wanting to have intimacy and connection with others is going to increase. And I'm not talking about sex here, right? That's just a small part of it. But the emotional and hormonal attraction that she's feeling and the desires for those special relationships. So let's look at this through a scientific and more psychological lens to help us understand what's really going on with your daughter, to help explain why she's so gaga over boys, right? Number one, hormonal surge and brain development. All those hormones like estrogen and testosterone that are flooding in our system. Yes, we have testosterone too. They're not just for physical changes. They also play a huge role in the development of the brain's reward centers, right? When she feels a connection with someone, these hormones trigger a rush of dopamine and oxytocin. Yes, I'm talking scientific terms, but we want to go there because we want to understand biologically what your daughter is going through. And these create that feeling of excitement and attachment. It's the brain's way of rewarding her for seeking out social connection, which is a fundamental part of human behavior. Okay? Fact number 2, the drive to find a tribe or mate. Right? From an evolutionary perspective, meaning as we evolve from being a child to an adult, this attraction is really innate in ourselves, right? We're designed to go seek a mate and to procreate. So as humans, we're hardwired to seek out a companion, right? We were made to find a relationship. Now, if you follow the Bible, it's like Adam. God gave Eve for Adam, right? Because he needed a companion and eventually a partner to procreate with. And that's what's going on during the adolescent stage, as our bodies are biologically and physically preparing for that. While we're far more complex than just our biology, right? The fundamental drive is still a core part of the adolescent's experience. It's a key part of her identity formation as she moves from her family unit to finding her place in a wider social world. If you recall, this is a time she's trying to remove herself from the family unit and find who she is, and that includes one-on-one romantic relationships. And fact number 3, the social and emotional need for intimacy. So it's beyond the biology. There's a powerful psychological component to this. The desire for a boyfriend, for boys, a girlfriend is about more than just the attraction. It's about the need for emotional intimacy, validation, and a sense of being special to someone outside her family. Now, Dr. Erik Erikson says the stages of psychosocial development suggests that adolescence really is a time for exploring identity versus role, right? Part of this exploration is figuring out who she is in a relationship with others, who she is in relation to others. That's why during this time, she's constantly comparing herself to other people, right? That's a normal part of adolescence. This is where we have opportunities to guide our daughters, right? That yes, she'll have a tendency to compare herself, but yes, we are there to help her and remind her of who she is, her identity, and who she has been from the beginning, right? These early relationships are practice for the kind of emotional connection she's going to have throughout her life. So she's exploring other relationships and who she is within these different relationships. So that's why you see sometimes girls, and you might see it in your own daughter, they change their best friends almost every other month, or their friend group changes over time because they're starting to figure out who they are and what kind of friends she would love to have in her life, right? That's including a relationship with the opposite sex. So let's take all of this, and I just want you to just take it in. That was a lot of science stuff that I spat out at you, just to kind of like keep it at that level as far as what your daughter is experiencing emotionally in her brain, mentally, and physically, and how that takes a part of why she's all of a sudden interested in boys and really, really wanting to date. So the question now becomes, how do we as moms support her readiness to date, right? Now, of course, you have your own boundaries and expectations when it comes around dating. For us, it was 16. I mean, it might be different for you and your family, and that's totally fine. But for us and our family, we decided 16. One, because she was an older teenager, and I feel like she was more mature. Well, even my two boys also had the same rule, but they were a little bit more mature in making decisions. They're not as spastic or highly emotional in dealing with another relationship, let alone figuring out who they are during this stage, right? So, and another key was that they were able to drive during that time. So, mom's not about to drive you around your group dates. So we also put some expectation there, and also some expectation about when you're allowed to be alone, who can be with you, and those type of things to keep herself safe and not in a bad situation, right? So those were the types of conversations we had when it came to dating. But how else could we support our kids, because they're interested in it? And we were not against it, because one of our friends had said this: I rather have them figure out the dating scene while they're under our roof than try to figure it out when they're not, which was very key for me and my husband, and which is why we chose 16 as an appropriate age for them to start dating. Were they allowed to be attracted to the opposite sex? Of course. That's part of the adolescence experience. But were they allowed to act on it? No, not quite yet. But we had lots of conversations around it at the same time. Okay, this is where, because of that, we have to shift our mindset from, oh no, she wants to date, and absolutely not, right? That gut-wrenching reaction to dating. It's like, no, you're too young. Or no, absolutely not, I'm not ready for this. And instead, switch our mindsets to, okay, how are we going to do this together? Okay, here are some four things that you need to know to support her, or would take as advice to support her during this time. I'm going to make them as points, okay? Point 1 is open lines of communication is everything. Open lines of communication is everything. When your daughter feels that she can talk to you openly about her crushes, her feelings, and even her dates, you become her trusted resource. And of course, why wouldn't she, right? You are the best resource for her, because you are so many years above where she was at. You used to be in that same position, right? But if you shut her down or react with fear or judgment, she's not going to go to you. She's going to go to her friends, like what I did. I went to my friends, and they were the ones that taught me about boys, which is probably not the best thing, because they're not experienced either. So these are not for her best interests at heart. So we want to avoid judgment and fear and giving her that reaction so that she can continue to open up with us. Maybe ask questions like, so what do you like about him? Or how did the conversation go? And really listen without interrupting. This isn't about giving your blessing. Mama, I want you to hear that. This is not about giving your blessing for every boy she likes. It's about creating a safe space for her to talk. Okay, point number 2. Dating is an opportunity for connection with you. Okay, say that one more time. Dating is an opportunity for connection with you. Believe it or not, dating is a fantastic opportunity to deepen your relationship with your daughter. This is your chance to share stories from your own dating life, the good, the bad, and maybe the PG version. It depends on your story, and the cringeworthy. It's a way to build a bridge to let her know that you were once in her shoes, that you too had the awkward dating stages. This shares vulnerability, and the vulnerability builds trust between the two of you, which really strengthens your bond during this time when you feel like she's pulling away from you. And then point number 3, help her create personal boundaries. Oh, this is so important. I wish I knew this. And I guess that's probably why I went to my friends. We didn't know what boundaries to put because we were advising each other about dating. This is perhaps the most critical part of the conversation, really, is boundaries. Don't just tell her no. Help her understand why boundaries are important. Talk to her about what she is and isn't comfortable with, right? And talk about what you are not comfortable with. Help her define her own personal lines for physical contact, right? By guiding her and helping her with what's appropriate, and what she should share on social media too. And that matters because even if she's not doing anything risque or crossing boundaries, what she posts on social media is all about perception. And even though we do not, we encourage our girls not to care what other people think, what we put on social media and what we choose to put on social media really does matter, right? And for what she expects in terms of respect from her partner too, right? And being clear about that as well. So these boundaries are hers to own, which makes her more likely to uphold them, right? Help her create her personal boundaries. This is really an incredible life skill that will serve her well beyond her first boyfriend, is when she can vocalize her boundaries. Okay? And number 4, establish clear expectations in the home. So the rules of dating may be different than what they were when we were young, right? But really the foundation of respect, safety, and responsibility remain the same, but it might just look different in each household, and it might look different for you than what it does for us, but we can all agree that respect, safety, and responsibility is common, right? This is where you can talk about expectations of curfew, maybe meeting the parents, and how she'll communicate her plans, right? Maybe an example is, I want to meet the person you're going out with before you go. Or I need you to check in with me at a certain time. One thing that we, especially for my daughter, and even for our boys, was that we needed their date to come and say hello to us, right? They needed to come and introduce themselves to us before we released one of our kids to them. I mean, we expected the same for our boys, is that they go and introduce themselves to their date that they're picking up. So we expect the same from our daughter. These aren't meant to they're not meant to be punishment. They're not meant to ridicule them or control them. They're really designed to keep her safe and help her understand that dating is a privilege that comes with shared responsibility, right? There's a lot of responsibility when it comes to dating, and a lot of responsibility to keep trust, right? Okay, so finally, let's just acknowledge that this can be hard, right? Dating can be hard. There could be a lot of gray lines, but if we help establish some expectations, maybe we can smooth out those gray lines a little bit more. And for us moms, it can feel emotional and really conflicting because maybe you're thinking, oh, this is too early. I don't know, you, because of your own personal experiences, you're thinking it might happen to her, but you're watching your little girl grow up and move toward a different kind of life. It can bring up feelings of loss, maybe of fear, and even a little bit of jealousy because they get to experience first love all over again. But the key is to not let those feelings get in the way of her development. And most importantly, really your relationship when it comes down to it. Instead of fighting, lean in. Keep the lines of communication open. Be a safe space for her to explore these new emotions and relationships. And by doing so, you're not just helping her navigate this world of dating, you're really teaching her to value herself, to communicate her needs, and to trust that you will always be her biggest advocate and her person of safety. Okay? So, Mama, there you go. And if you know of another mom that can really use this episode, do me a favor, share this link and text it over to her right now. It's probably the biggest thank you can give me, but we also want moms to know the resources that are available here on this podcast so that she doesn't feel like she's struggling through this by herself. Okay, till next time, and don't forget, raisingherconfidently.com. We would love for you to be a part of the free community. Hey friend, if this podcast inspired you or encouraged you or helped you in any way, I'd love for you to share it. You can screenshot this episode and share it in your stories on social media or text it to a friend who can use the support. It's the best way you can thank me. I want to let other mamas know they are not alone. I'd love to stay connected with you. You can find me at raisingherconfidently.com. Until next time, live full of grace, Jeannie.